Hi everyone, and welcome to Jane Talks Buffy, where I'll be talking about and reviewing all the episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer in order. Today, I'm looking at Season 7, Episode 18, Dirty Girls. We begin the episode with Shannon being chased by Bringers, flagging down a car driven by priest Nathan Fillion, and they escape, where he questions her about what's going on and seems nice at first before he turns sinister and calls her a whore. She tries to get out of the car, but Caleb has locked her in, and he admits that the Bringers belong to him, so she grabs the wheel, but he fights back and brands her. He tells her to deliver a message to Buffy, stabs her in the stomach, whispers in her ear, and kicks her out of the car, where she's noticed by Willow and Faith. And into the credits we go. Xander comforts one of the potentials who says she's scared before coming on to him, and then another potential pops up doing the same thing. And then there's this. So wake up, Xander. Willow and Faith stare at Shannon in the hospital, and Faith complains no one warned her about the Bringers offing Slayers, as she was attacked too. So Willow apologizes, and Faith heads out to find Buffy. A girl is running, but gets punched out by Spike, who in turn is attacked by Faith. And they have a little smack around before Buffy gets involved, and she and Faith have a little standoff, until the girl jumps her. Faith fights off the vampire and dusts it, so Buffy takes her home, which Dawn is not a fan of, and Spike explains why everything is so tense.
That makes me feel better about me. Worse about Giles. Kind of shaky about you.
Caleb boozes it up and rambles on at the first, who reveals its facade is that of the Slayer, which Caleb is excited about and mentions blowing up the council. We get a Faith montage narrated by Andrew, and she fights a Vulcan, which Amanda rightly calls bullshit on, and Chowan looks confused, but Andrew warns that Faith is dangerous. Buffy goes to see Robin to make peace and recruits him, which he appreciates before firing her, and she confides in him that the potentials are not ready for battle. Faith goes to the basement for a smoke and chats to Spike, explaining about her time in prison and fills him in on the time she swapped bodies with Buffy. They bond for a bit until they're interrupted by Buffy, who is not best pleased, before Dawn reports that Shannon is awake, so they go to the hospital where she tells them about Caleb, shows them her brand, and says he claims to have something of Buffy's. Buffy rallies the troops and tells them they're all going to take on Caleb, who is currently role-playing with the First, and we learn he killed this girl, along with dozens of others. Buffy lays out a plan, but Giles thinks it's foolish, as Caleb may not have anything, and Spike points out he could attack the potentials that don't go with Buffy, and Xander agrees.
Buffy, this thing's got trap written all over it.
Buffy and Faith follow a bringer and talk about the potentials, Faith's return, and Angel, before finding Caleb's hideout. And back home, Xander preps the girls on what they may face, but some of them are nervous.
I don't want there to be tentacles. I'm not good with squishy.
Rona says Buffy is crazy for taking them all into battle, so Xander gives a big speech about how they should trust Buffy as she cares about them, which she overhears.
Damn, I never knew you were that cool.
The group heads to the vineyard and splits up, so of course the Bringers attack, but the potentials hold their own. However, I don't see any fatalities. Caleb wanders in, confirming it is indeed a trap, before punching Buffy clear across the room, knocking her out. And Spike is no match either, leaving the potentials unprotected. So Caleb breaks Rona's arm, but Faith and Xander stop her from joining the body count. Faith tries her best, but she doesn't fare well either, which costs the potential her life. And too terrified to fight back, Molly gets herself stabbed to death. Buffy gets back into the fray, but Spike tells her to run, and as Xander tries to clear everyone out, Caleb grabs him and gouges out his eye. So Spike dives in, and the survivors manage to escape. Caleb gives a sermon as Buffy walks through the hospital and returns home defeated. Holy crap, we're on episode 18 and Caleb and Faith are only just showing up. I thought they came into play much earlier in the season, but nope, we're so late in the game, but I guess things seem to take longer when you're a kid and you can only watch one episode a week. We've got quite a bit to unpick here, so let's start with Caleb. I don't like him. He waffles on and on too damn much, and he's creepy, so he scared me as a kid. And this was my first time seeing Nathan Fillion in anything, so it took years to not be freaked out by him when I saw him in other things. It's revealed that he blew up the Watchers Council, so he's been a player for a while, but he's only introduced in this episode, which feels like a misstep to drop a major player in this late in the game. Faith is back, which I'm fine with. I prefer her being a bit combative rather than villainous. And I know she talks a lot about events that happened on Angel, but as I've not seen Angel for almost 2 decades, I'll go into Faith's backstory in more depth when I hopefully cover the show at some point. There's a lot of tension between Dawn and Faith, Buffy and Giles, Spike and Faith, Buffy and Faith, the potentials and Buffy, the list goes on. And while it can be a bit tiresome, it just goes to show how unprepared everyone is for what lies ahead. The season has been all about inspirational speeches, and Xander adds to the list with a sort of mirror of Buffy's speech about him in Checkpoint. But speeches don't mean anything when everyone gets absolutely decimated by Caleb. Buffy was so arrogant, so sure, and not only did she get knocked out in one punch, but 2 of the potentials died, having been completely unprepared for the battle. It proves Giles right, proved that she still needs him, and proves that this enemy is nothing like they faced before. They are all screwed, and while I don't really like season 7, it certainly packs a punch. Side note before we get to the deaths, and speaking of, Xander was supposed to die in this episode and appear in the rest of the season as the first, but I'm glad he survived. Not because I particularly like him, it's just appropriately thematic that the core 4 make it to the end. But he of course didn't make it out unscathed. His loss of an eye is something that's been foreshadowed for a long time now, from costume choices to dialogue. He may see most things, but he never saw that one coming. We have 4 deaths. 3 humans, the girl we find out Caleb killed thanks to the first, this rando potential whose neck was broken by Caleb, and Molly, who didn't try to defend herself at all as Caleb stabbed her. And we have 1 vampire, the girl in the graveyard staked by Faith, which brings our running total to 52 humans, 7 transformations, 25 vampires, and 21 demons. So there you have it. That was Dirty Girls. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or come say hi on social media. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button, it really does mean a lot, or consider subscribing if you want to be sired by my channel. Alternatively, feel free to check out my other YouTube channels. Thank you so much for watching, I'll speak to you soon, and don't let the vampires bite.